Late at night, I was jolted awake by the sound of a baby crying. From inside Helen's room came the voice of her 19-years. Dear Helen, can I have some of your milk? The baby had already stopped crying, but now heavy, ragged breathing filled the room. I got out of bed and quietly pressed my eye to the crack in the door. The scene inside made my face burn with embarrassment and threw my mind into complete chaos. My name is Quinn. I'm 20-6 years old, an older sister studying abroad while accompanying my younger brother. I take care of him and prepare for my PhD at the same time. Living with us is another pair of siblings. The older sister, Helen, is a breastfeeding mother whose son is now 10 months old. Helen's younger sister is Sam. My own brother is Liam. The two boys attend the same high school and are both in their final year. We are both single-parent families. My brother had always been looked after by our father, but Dad came abroad for a major construction project. Helen's husband is also working on the same project. For convenience, Helen brought her son and her sister Sam with him. Their parents had died in a car accident more than 10 years ago. Since the two boys go to the same high school and share similar family circumstances, and because we are all Chinese, we decided to rent a forced together when we arrived. Helen is 30 this year. Being in her breastfeeding period and already having a great figure, she looks even fuller and more voluptuous. Although I've never been married or had children, my body has always been in perfect shape. My full, curvaceous figure is almost identical to Helen's. With both our fathers living on the construction site due to tight deadlines, the household now consists of just the four of us plus Helen's 10-month-old son. Helen grew up in the countryside, so she has never been shy about breastfeeding. Sometimes when my brother Liam was doing homework in the living room, she would casually lift her shirt and feed the baby right there. Every time I caught Liam secretly staring at Helen while she nursed, I felt extremely awkward. When Liam noticed my gaze, her face would turn bright red. I once kindly reminded Helen about it. She just smiled and said, "It's fine. Liam is the same age as my brother, they're still kids. What improper thoughts could they have?" But they were both already 19. I wanted to argue, yet Helen only laughed softly and promised she would be more careful in the future. After my gentle reminder, Helen did start to avoid feeding the baby in front of the two older boys. At least she no longer did it openly in the living room. Lately, however, I've noticed that Helen's sister Sam often looks at me in a strange way, especially when I'm wearing my nightgown and hanging laundry on the balcony. His eyes stay glued to me, burning with intensity. Sam is over 6 feet tall and carries himself with the bright, youthful energy of a young man. Maybe because I had been apart from my boyfriend for too long. When I returned to my bedroom after those stares, I found my own body reacting. After all, I'm only 20-6. At the peak of a woman's physical desires, being watched so intently by such a tall, handsome young man stirred something deep inside me. That evening, after Helen's son had fallen asleep, I had finished preparing the ingredients for dinner. Helen offered to do the Sturm Highness frying and asked me to go up to the roof to bring in the clothes and bedding. After collecting everything, I folded Sam's sports jersey neatly and went to deliver it to his room. I knocked, but no one answered. Thinking he was too absorbed in his homework, I pushed the door open. Instead, I found Sam holding his phone, watching explicit adult videos with headphones on. The moment I saw the graphic scene on the screen, my face flushed crimson. The sound of the door startled him. He turned his head, saw it was me, and frantically closed the video. His entire face turned betrayed. Quinn. Sister Quinn, why did you come in? Your clothes? I pretended I hadn't seen anything, placed his folded clothes on the cabinet beside him, and quickly left the room. Once outside, my heart was pounding wildly. The image from his phone kept flashing in my mind, making my body feel hot and restless. At dinner, Sam cowled and bring himself to look me in the eye. He probably feared I would tell his sister about his little secret. He kept his head down, eating in silence. Every time our eyes accidentally met, His cheeks flushed deep red. Soon after finishing his meal, Sam excused himself to go do homework. Just then, Helen's son started crying again. She was hungry. Helen walked over, lifted her shirt without hesitation, and began breastfeeding her, clearly forgetting that my sister Liam and I were still in the living room. I glanced over and saw Liam's eyes lock onto the pail, full breasts exposed before her. Her breathing grew noticeably heavier. "Liam, where are you looking? Finish your food," I muttered under my breath. Only then did Liam blush and quickly lower her gaze, hurriedly finishing the rest of her rice. Helen noticed Liam's red face and gave a meaningful little smile. Then she carried her son into the bedroom. Unable to hold back, I followed her inside and gently reminded her again. "Helen, next time you feed the baby, please be a little more careful." I just saw my brother Liam's eyes nearly pop out. I expected her to be upset, but Helen simply chuckled softly in the dark. "It's okay. Quinn, when?" Liam's just curious. "That's all. When we were little back in the countryside, we used to sneak peeks at the wet nurses feeding their babies all the time." I wanted to say something more, but since Helen had already spoken, I didn't feel right pushing it. I simply went to Liam's bedroom and reminded her to focus on her studies. That night, as I lay in bed, the image of Sam's shy, flushed face while stealing glances at me kept flashing through my mind. The thought left me feeling strangely lonely, perhaps stirred by my own physical needs. Not long after, Helen suddenly called me. She said her breasts were full and asked me to come to the bathroom to help her. I hurried over in my pajamas, but I had no real experience, and even though we were both women, I didn't quite know what to do. After trying for a while, I still hadn't been able to relieve her. "Helen, maybe I should help instead," came a voice. Stronger. I don't know if Helen's voice had been too loud, but suddenly my brother Liam was standing at the bathroom doorway, staring straight at Helen with wide eyes. "Get out. What are you doing coming in here as a guy?" I was mortified. My face burning, I shouted at her to leave, then quickly shut the bathroom door and locked it. Even after helping Helen a while longer, the issue still wasn't fully resolved. Just then, Liam knocked on the door again and said she had specially ordered a breast pump through International Express delivery over the past 2 days. I felt even more embarrassed hearing that. I hadn't expected Liam to be so thoughtful. Helen, however, sounded pleasantly surprised. "That's great. A breast pump will make it much easier. I wanted to buy one at the supermarket here, but they didn't have any. This place is really too behind." I had no choice but to open the door, snatch the breast pump from Liam's hand, and glare at her, signaling her to go back to bed immediately. With the breast pump, Helen's issue was quickly taken care of, and she finally smiled with relief. After we all went to sleep, in the early hours of the morning, while I was half-whiming, it felt like my boyfriend had come to see me. She was holding me in her arms, but the sensation seemed too real. I opened my eyes slightly and jumped in fright. Sam had somehow entered my bedroom, and his hand was on my thigh. "Sam, what are you doing?" I cried out. Startled, Sam's face turned bright red. "Sorry, Quinn. I got up to use the bathroom and walked into the wrong room by mistake. I'm really sorry." He mumbled the words in a daze and hurried out. He looked so panicked, and I was still so sleepy, that I didn't think much of it and went back to sleep. The next morning, after Sam and my brother Liam had left for school, the more I thought about it, the more something felt off. Sam's room was far from the bathroom, while mine was right next to it. How could he have mixed them up? Had Sam done it on purpose? Or was he having fantasies about me? Because Helen had the baby to look after, doing laundry wasn't convenient for her, so I often handled it. Most clothes went straight into the washing machine, but underwear had to be hand-washed. When I got to Sam's underwear, I found sticky, disgusting stains on it. Then I checked my own panties, which I had placed deepest in the dirty laundry basket, and found they weren't touched. Seeing that, I felt both ashamed and angry. It made me boldly guess what had happened. Sam, in the midst of puberty, had probably watched that kind of movie in Calden's sleep. He had sneaked into my room intending to do something inappropriate, but when I woke up and caught him, he slipped into the bathroom instead and used my panties to do something dirty. The thought made my face burn with embarrassment. I felt things were heading in a frightening direction. In the end, I told Helen about it. She was shocked too. He said his brother Sam had always been an obedient, good kid. How could he suddenly do something like this? Helen decided that when Sam came home that evening, he would have a serious talk with him and tell him to keep his mind on his studies. But that afternoon, after school, something almost went terribly wrong. It was nearly 7 o'clock and the two boys still hadn't returned. We called them, but both phones were off. When we phoned the school, we learned they had already left long ago. We started to panic. After all, public safety here was like back home, and we worried about their safety. Just as Helen and I were calling around and preparing to take a taxi to search for them, a car suddenly pulled up in front of our house. 2 people got out. It was Sam and my brother Liam. The one who had brought them back was a female teacher from China, Ms. Chen. She wore glasses and was responsible for Chinese language teaching here. After leading the 2 boys inside, Ms. Chen angrily complained to us. It turned out Sam and Liam had found a local man and asked her to take them to the area famous for its red Bolinas light district. Luckily, Ms. Chen had been driving past on some errand and spotted them. She immediately stopped and brought them back. Hearing this, both Helen and I felt a wave of fear. This was Africa. After all, HIV and drugs were rampant. If Sam and Liam had gone to a place like that and gotten involved, the consequences would have been unthinkable. Ms. Chen kindly gave the boys a thorough scolding on our behalf and reminded us to keep a close eye on them, always knowing where they were, to prevent them from going down the wrong path. Helen pulled me into her bedroom right after Miss Chen left. She clearly wanted to discuss a plan with me. It was obvious that this time Helen was truly panicked. She hadn't realized how serious the situation was until Miss Chen spelled it out, and the words hit her like a wake-up call. The 2 of us sat together talking for a while. Then Helen suddenly said something bold. "Quinn, how about this tonight you help satisfy my sister Sam, and I'll go satisfy your sister Liam. That way both boys get what they need and won't wander down the wrong path." He spoke. Tears suddenly slipped down Helen's cheeks. He added that if his little brother Sam went astray, he would never be able to face their parents in the afterlife. Hearing her say that, but deep down I knew Helen was right. After all, I was a normal woman with my own needs, and this would genuinely help the 2 big boys. Once we agreed, I took a shower that evening and deliberately put on a sheer black nightgown. I gently pushed open Sam's door. He was doing homework and looked startled when I suddenly entered, clearly nervous and embarrassed. When he saw me wearing the thin, transparent black nightgown, Sam's eyes darted away. He wanted to look but didn't dare. His face turned bright red. "Sam, do you like your sister?" I asked softly as I stepped closer. "Do you?" Sam immediately became tongue-tied. "I know. Yes, I like..." Not only did he stammer, he buried his head on the desk and cowled and even meet my eyes. Seeing him so flustered, I took the lead and gently took his hand, guiding him step by step. Sam was young and full of vigor. That night, the 2 of us were wild beyond words. Before long, voices drifted from the next room, first my sister speaking, then Helen's voice soon after. They were obviously just as lost in passion. The next morning, just as dawn broke, Helen's baby started crying, hungry for milk. We got up and each returned to our own rooms. When our eyes met, we shared a knowing smile about the crazy night we had shared. After that special, wild evening, Sam and Liam became noticeably more focused when they came home from school. They threw themselves into their homework and studies with far more dedication than before. From that day on, We never saw them do anything inappropriate again. They poured all their energy into learning. I had already discussed it with Helen. We would keep them company once each weekend, but only if they kept up with their studies and didn't let their minds wander. Otherwise, we would let continue our patient guidance. We thought this would become a memorable but closed chapter of the past. Yet half a month later, trouble struck again. That afternoon I had just returned from buying groceries when I heard loud shouting inside the house. Helen's husband, William, had come home, and unfortunately he had caught my sister boldly staring while Helen was breastfeeding. The moment I stepped inside, I saw William slap Helen hard across the face and roar, "You're a married woman acting so shamelessly. What kind of example is this?" After being slapped, Helen refused to back down. She slapped her right back. In seconds, the two of them were grappling with each other. My sister Liam, strong from her construction work, immediately rushed over to help Helen. Seeing the chaos, I was terrified and hurried to break them apart. But William had lost control. She started punching and kicking wildly, shoving both Helen and me to the floor. Liam was soon kicked hard as well. William's strength from years on the job site was frightening. At that moment, Helen's sister Sam saw me being knocked down by his sister Minas and stormed out of his room in a rage. "Brother Mina, sin minus law? What the hell are you doing? You come home and start beating people like a madman." Sam grabbed William tightly. At the same time, Liam jumped up from the floor. Together the two boys pinned William down. "You filthy woman," so cheap and without any shame, William snarled. "I never want to touch you again. I don't even want to see your face." With that, he stormed out the door in fury, jumped into his van, and drove away. We stood there stunned as William, who had finally come home, left in a storm of anger. Helen, still crouched on the floor, suddenly burst into loud sobs. The sight left us all panicked. Liam quickly went over and kept apologizing to her. In the end, I sent the two boys back to their rooms to do homework. I helped Helen up and led her to her bedroom. I knew I shared a big part of the blame, so once we were inside, I immediately apologized to her. Our intentions had been good, but we never expected something like this to happen. "Quinn, it's okay. I don't blame you too," Helen said. "This was my fault. The idea was mine to begin with. If anyone's to blame, it's me. I won't hold it against you." After speaking, she quietly wiped away a tear, picked up her crying baby, and continued feeding her. Her eyes were red and swollen. She looked deeply hurt. This incident made me fully realize how serious things had become. What if William divorced Helen because of it? Wouldn't that mean my brother Liam had ruined her life? This incident seemed to change my sister Liam and Helen's younger sister Sam overnight. From then on, the two of them came home every day and started studying seriously. Sometimes they even helped with household chores. They no longer let their minds wander with wild thoughts, because they were terrified that William would come home and cause another huge scene like last time. Of course, they were also afraid that this whole mess would completely destroy the family. Because of what had happened, Helen kept calling William, but he never picked up and couldn't be reached. That left his feeling deeply uneasy inside. A week later, William finally returned. What none of us expected was that he brought a woman back with him. The beautiful, bespectacled, gentle and refined young woman turned out to be Miss Chen, Liam and Sam's homeroom teacher from school, the very same teacher who had told us about the boys secretly planning to visit the Radhislite district. "Helen, let's get a divorce. I've already brought the divorce agreement. Just sign it, and the child stays with you." The moment William stepped inside, he got straight to the point, speaking in a cold, emotional voice. Before Helen could even respond, she pulled Miss Chen into her arms and smiled. Oh, right. Miss Chen is my girlfriend now. Actually, we've known each other for a long time. Oh, that's right, you've all met her before, so I don't need to introduce her." Helen, who had already been furious, completely lost control at that moment. He snatched up the divorce agreement William had prepared, tore it to shreds, and hurled the pieces violently at him. "William, how can you do this to my sister? Are you even human?" Hearing those words, Ethan burst out of his room in a rage and roared at William. "Yeah, you and Helen have a child together, and Sheth's still so young. How can you bear to abandon them?" At that moment, my brother Liam also rushed out of her room and joined in, cursing William furiously. "What right do either of you have to lecture me about my boyfriend? Do you even qualify? If I hadn't dragged the two of you back from the red light district last time, you'd probably be ruined by now." Seeing Liam and Ethan angrily confronting William, Shen immediately put on a stern, serious expression and scolded the two boys. After all, he was their teacher, and his presence carried real authority. Once she spoke, Liam and Ethan fell silent. "Enough. Helen, we're all adults here. Just sign it quickly. Besides, don't think I don't know what you've been doing. Let me tell you every single move you've made. Miss Chen has already told us about it." After William finished speaking, he had Miss Chen take another copy of the agreement out of his bag and hand it to Helen to sign. At that moment, Helen's eyes were already red from crying. She looked utterly helpless, with no way out. Finally, she walked over, snatched the divorce agreement from Miss Chen's hand, grabbed a pen, and signed it in a frenzy. Then he pointed at both Miss Chen and William. "Get out. Both of you can get out. You're not welcome here. Just leave." As Helen said those words, tears were already swirling uncontrollably in her eyes, but she fought hard to keep them from falling. Meanwhile, her son seemed to sense the despair in the house and began crying loudly from her room, the sound heartbreaking and raw. Miss Chen gave a slight smile, a hint of triumph on her face, as she took the signed divorce agreement and pen from Helen's hand. He placed them neatly back into his bag, then turned to William with a smile. "Let's go. Will. They don't welcome us here anyway. Besides, it smells weird in this place. Can you smell that? It's like some kind of stench coming off them." At his words, William and Miss Chen exchanged knowing glances, burst into loud laughter, and turned to walk out of the house. William, "I'm going to beat you to death." Seeing Helen break down in tears like this, her younger sister Sam felt his heart twist with pain. He clenched his fists and started to charge forward, determined to beat the scum that was William to a pulp. When he saw Sam rushing ahead, ready to give William a savage beating as well. "What do you think you're doing? Believe me, I can make sure neither of you ever reads another book here again." The moment Miss Chen saw Sam and Liam about to rush at William, he turned back coldly, raised the bag in his hand, and roared at the two boys. After all, he was their teacher. His powerful presence, combined with the authority he held over them, quickly left Sam and Liam frozen in place. Her words carried real weight. Miss Chen had been teaching at the school for several years and had extensive connections. If Liam and Sam truly offended him, they could be expelled immediately. For students who had come from abroad and finally found a suitable school, if Miss Chen used his influence to have them kicked out, there might be nowhere else for them to study. Seeing this, the two boys could only stand there stunned. "Brats, try pulling something like this again next time and see how I deal with you." William let out a cold laugh, then put his arm around Miss Chen with a smug expression. The two of them got into a Mercedes and drove off without looking back. Once the car had truly disappeared from sight, Helen, who had been holding herself together so strongly, finally collapsed. She squatted down and began to cry bitterly. Inside the house, the child was crying even louder now. My own eyes turned red as well. I never imagined that the heartless William would not only hook up with Miss Chen, but also abandon his wife and child so cruelly. Helen and Sam stood frozen in place, their eyes rimmed with red. As the men of the family, they desperately wanted to protect Helen, but right now they had no power to do so. After what had happened, Helen had no desire to stay any longer. She immediately contacted schools back home in China. Fortunately, the school in Sam's hometown agreed to let him return to take the college entrance exam. At that point, there was only 1 month left until the national exam. Seeing Helen preparing to leave, her younger sister Liam also lost all interest in staying and decided she wanted to go back to China for the exam as well. I could only ask my boyfriend to start making calls everywhere. Luckily, we managed to reach her old school, and they agreed to let Liam return for the exam too. Just as we had everything ready and were about to head back to China together, my father's construction project on the site was nearly finished, and she was preparing to return as well. When she found us and saw that we were sharing a rental with Helen and her sister, she casually started asking questions. After all, Dad had never met Helen or her family before, and she certainly had no idea that her husband was William. That evening at dinner, Dad mentioned offhandedly that one of the workers on his site had passed away from late-stage lung cancer. It had been a miserable end. No family members had even come to see him off. What was his name? I muttered, unable to help myself. It sounded like William or something. The four of us, who had been eating with our heads down, suddenly looked up at each other, then turned to Dad in unison. What did you say his name was? William, Dad replied. Yeah, that was it, William. Last time they gave out the Outstanding Employee Award, we even took a photo together. With that, he pulled out his phone. When he handed the photo over for us to see, we were all stunned. The William Dad was talking about was none other than Helen's husband, William. For a moment, none of us could believe it. Helen immediately called William's supervisor to confirm. That night we didn't even finish our meal. We hailed a van and, with Dad accompanying us, rushed straight to the hospital morgue. When we arrived, we found only Miss Chen standing outside, along with 2 other workers. When she saw Helen appear, Miss Chen looked surprised at first, but then her tears began to fall. Stan told us the whole truth. There had never been any romantic relationship between William and him. They had simply known each other. When William learned he had terminal lung cancer with no hope of recovery and only a month left to live, he decided to leave this world in this way. She wanted to spare Helen and their child the pain of watching her suffer and fade away. That was why she had begged Miss Chen to help her stage the whole scene so her wife and child wouldn't have to endure the agony of her final days. Upon learning the truth, every one of us had tears streaming down our faces. We were all overwhelmed by an immense wave of grief. That same night, Helen cried until she fainted. Sam nearly passed out as well. Each of us was heartbroken. Later, acting as the family representative and with help from William's former supervisor, Helen arranged for her body to be cremated locally in Africa. Then Helen and her sister, along with the rest of us, carried William's ashes back to China together. Since we weren't from the same city, once we parted ways this time, both sides decided we would never see each other again. What had happened before became a secret buried deep in each of our hearts, one we would all guard carefully. In the future, we would live out our own lives. After my wife brought that man home, I didn't just lock the door from the outside, I also dialed my mother in Manislaw and told him that his daughter was thinking of doing something drastic. When my wife brought that man home again, I locked the door tight and secretly called my mother in Manislaw. The sounds coming from the bedroom grew louder and more piercing. I sat in the living room and dialed my mother in Manislaw's number. Mom, man, something's wrong. Your daughter has locked herself in the bedroom and it sounds like she's about to do something terrible. I had bought a bottle of super glue and sealed all the bedroom windows shut. As I pressed the last piece of glass into place, I called my wife. Henry, I have a business trip today. I might be gone for a couple of days. Henry answered with a quick then hurriedly hung up. I glanced at the new company onboarding notice on my phone, silently replied with okay, and checked the time. He should be getting off work soon. I casually packed a few clothes into my suitcase. I carried the suitcase upstairs and slipped into the storage room. From there, I had a clear view of everything happening downstairs. About half an hour later, the front door opened. Henry came in first. The moment he stepped inside, he called out, "Honey? Honey?" Then he said to someone outside, "See? She's already gone." Come on in. A man walked in. Henry closed the door behind him and immediately pulled the man into his arms. Now I can finally be with you, Henry said, pretending to struggle while pressing himself deeper into the man's embrace. Yuri, so bad. This scene was not the first time I had seen it. Last month, when I forgot a document and came home unexpectedly, I saw clothes scattered all over the sofa, Henry's clothes mixed with another man's. I picked him up and looked. They were clearly not mine. Henry was cheating on me. I could hardly believe my eyes. But the heavy breathing and moans coming nonstop from the bedroom left me no choice but to accept it. I didn't want to hear those sounds anymore. I still couldn't believe that the Henry who clung to me every day would cheat, and right here in our own home. I quietly put the clothes back where I had found them, picked up the scissors from the table, and was about to burst into the bedroom when the phone inside rang. The man's voice paused for a moment. I recognized that voice instantly. It was my boss, the Hong Kong investor whose mandarin was very smooth. I had just landed a multi-million order from him last week, personally signed by him. Only now did it all click every time he looked at me and said, "Henry, work hard. You're young and promising. Henry, once you close this deal, your wife will be able to live comfortably." The look in his eyes was admiration. It was mockery. The colleagues had all envied me back then. Henry, I begged for that contract several times and he never gave it to me, but he handed it straight to you. Still, it means you'll have to travel a lot. Your wife is so attached to you, will he agree to that? Now I understood. That door never got kicked open by me after all. I clutched the contract in my hand and had just stepped out of the house when Manager Chu hurried over, urging me anxiously, "Henry, hurry up, the investors will be here soon. By the way, the boss's phone has been unreachable. Do you know where he is right now?" I glanced back at the front door, then at the contract in my hand. "I don't know. I haven't been able to reach him either." Manager Chu was one of Henry's distant relatives. Back when Henry and I first got together, it was largely thanks to his introductions and connections. Seeing the contract in my hand, he smiled with satisfaction. I knew my judgment was right. "You, young man, have a bright future. If this deal goes through, the position of business department manager will definitely be yours. Henry will be thrilled to." I simply smiled faintly and said nothing more. Over the past few years, to prove myself, I had worked day and night. Almost all the money I earned through sweat and exhaustion had gone straight into Henry's pockets. But I believed that if you loved someone, you should give him the very best. When I got home that evening, Henry had already prepared a table full of delicious dishes and was waiting for me. He rarely cooked, always complaining that the smell of oil and smoke was bad for his skin. But starting this year, he had occasionally made a few meals for me. This was only the 4th time I had tasted his cooking. The moment he saw me, he rushed over. "Darling, I made your favorite braised pork today. Go wash your hands and let's eat." He pushed me into the bathroom. While I was washing my hands, he picked up a piece of meat with chopsticks and brought it to my mouth. "Try it first, how does it taste?" I chewed and answered, "It's delicious." That night, while he was showering, I tried opening his phone. We both knew each other's passcodes, but we rarely checked each other's phones, so his chat history was basically all still there, undeleted. I scrolled through his WeChat and found nothing suspicious at first. Then I searched for the words "Miss You." In the recent chats, a contact labeled "Miss" appeared. It had to be Jason's alternate account. I clicked in. The messages were filled with explicit content. "Miss You. Is your husband home? Let's go to the hotel today. I just finished my supplements. I guarantee you'll be satisfied." That was when I finally realized they had already booked rooms together more than 10 times, and they had even done it at our house 4 times before. Today would be the 5th. Henry switched his phone to airplane mode with practiced ease and tangled with Jason again. I wanted to yank him back into my arms, but he didn't care about me at all. He had even asked Jason to transfer me out of town so the two of them could cheat more conveniently. Jason kept tearing at Henry's clothes. Henry panted heavily, one arm hooked around Jason's neck while his other hand skillfully undid Jason's belt. I watched as Jason hurriedly carried Henry toward the bedroom. Henry clung to his neck, kissing him nonstop, occasionally whispering something dirty in his ear. The last thing I heard was Henry asking, "Did you take your medicine today? Don't be like yesterday." Oh, Jason nodded repeatedly. "Don't worry. I guarantee you'll be satisfied." As soon as he finished speaking, he pulled off Henry's slippers and tossed them outside. Henry asked shyly, "How am I supposed to get out of bed without shoes?" Jason kissed Henry's neck hard and growled, "Today I guarantee you won't be able to get out of bed at all." Upstairs, I felt a wave of nausea. I covered my mouth and drished a few times, but nothing came out. When I heard the bedroom door slam shut with a loud bang, I quietly went downstairs, grabbed a trash bag, picked up the clothes scattered on the floor, and threw them in. Then, while the two of them were busy, I used my key to lock the bedroom door from the outside, threw the key away, and went to the bathroom to call my mother in Highness Law. "Mom, something's wrong. Henry locked himself in the bedroom and says he wants to kill himself. I can't get the door open no matter what." My mother in Law, Henry's mother, was the pillar of their family. Even though there were many siblings, he was the one whose word was law at home. Him only stain was that years ago he had caught his husband cheating, dragged the mistress's already formed baby out through an abortion, and kicked both his husband and the mistress out of the house. These years he had raised Henry alone. It had been hard, but he lived with a clear conscience. He also had a boyfriend he hadn't married yet. When he heard that his daughter was thinking of doing something stupid, he immediately came up with 10,000 ways to deal with me. In his eyes, when a woman threw a tantrum, it was almost always the man's fault. Less than half an hour after my call, he arrived at my house with a whole crowd's 7 or 8 aunts and uncles, plus several cousins. "Henry, where's my daughter?" Facing the aggressive mother in Law, I hurried over and explained anxiously, "Mom, Henry and I had a little argument." Then suddenly he stopped answering my calls. Before I could finish, my mother in Law grabbed a stool and smashed it against the door. There was a loud crash, and everything inside went quiet. He kept pounding on the door and shouting, "Henry, don't do anything stupid. If something's wrong, tell Mom." Listening inside showed no movement. Mom kept calling Henry's phone, but it still wouldn't connect. Mom grew frantic and started smashing the door with the stool again. Still nothing. What kind of door was this? He hit it several times, but it didn't budge at all. I pulled the smashing Mom back. "Mom, this is the door you and Henry picked out together back then. You said it was burglar-proof and secure. Even the key from inside can't open it once it's locked. No good. Don't push Henry into a corner any further." Ha. Mom stopped upon hearing that, but the cousin standing nearby wasn't having it. He stepped up and punched me. "Did you do something to hurt Henry?" "All the same, I know your type. Not a single one of you is any good." I shoved the cousin aside. "Men aren't all like you, chasing every skirt that walks by. If that's not the case, then why would Henry be thinking about ending it?" Mom got worked up too. "I told you so. I didn't want my daughter to walk the same painful road I did. This girl has such bad luck. First his father sets a terrible example, and now his husband does the same. How is he supposed to go on living? Let me tell you, Henry, if anything happens to my child, I won't let you get away with it." I grabbed Mom's arm. "Mom, I didn't do anything." The cousin pushed me aside again and pounded hard on the bedroom door. "Henry, don't be afraid. Whatever it is, your cousin will stand up for you. Just open the door first." The whole room fell deathly silent, as if the air itself had frozen, but the aunt couldn't sit still any longer. He jumped up anxiously. "I said it from the start. Henry, you made a mistake, so admit it. Get down on your knees right now and apologize to Henry. Maybe he'll forgive you. For a man, making a mistake isn't the end of the world. What matters is having the courage to own up to it. As he spoke, he tried to drag me toward the bedroom. I shook his hand off and said firmly, "Aunt, I really didn't do anything wrong. Why should I apologize? At the very least, let Henry come out so we can talk face to face and clear this up." But the aunt ignored me completely. He kicked me hard in the shin, trying to force me to my knees. "Apologize first. Get the person out. Then we'll talk." I struggled back to my feet and shouted toward the bedroom, "Henry, whatever it is, just come out and say it. Whoever's at fault will take responsibility. Come out, we'll talk it through properly." Then I pretended to press my ear against the door, listening carefully. The aunt leaned in too. That's when a dull thudding sound came from inside the room, accompanied by the vibration of glass. Oh no, Henry's trying to jump. A cheese banging on the glass. The aunt panicked and pulled Mom over to listen with his. "Henry, please don't do anything rash. Mom is right here. Stam will stand up for you." "Henry, that bastard will pay for this, Mom will make sure of it," shouted anxiously. "Henry, your aunt is here too. Don't be scared. Your aunt will stand up for you as well. And your cousin," I added. I pressed my ear to the door again and listened closely. It really was the sound of glass being smashed. But all the windows had been sealed shut by me with industrial adhesive. They couldn't be opened. Jason had nowhere to hide. He could only desperately try to break the glass and climb out onto the terrace. But Henry had forgotten this was triple mina, slayered tempered hollow glass, incredibly strong. It was the highest safety Minas rated model, and he had picked it out himself. I pretended to kneel by the door and slapped it with both hands. "Henry, I was wrong. Please come out. You can't do anything foolish. I can't live without you." The aunt kicked me hard again. "If you knew it would come to this, why did you do it in the first place? Exactly what did you do wrong?" The third uncle also started accusing me. "I heard long ago that the girls at your company all like you. Did you lose control and cheat?" The moment they heard cheat, Mom slapped the back of my head without even asking for details. "If you dared to cheat on my daughter, I'll beat you to death." I slowly stood up and faced Mom directly. What if it was Henry who cheated? Henry? Impossible. Absolute certainty. But what if? I pressed. Mom insisted. My daughter would never do something like that. But if he really did, it'd make his kneel down and kowtow to you an apology. When the cousin had first come in, he looked at me in confusion. After I explained the situation to him, he pulled me aside. "Henry, I have an important document. The boss's phone keeps going straight to voicemail. Do you know where he went?" I shook my head. "Why don't you ask the boss's wife?" The cousin slapped his forehead. "Right." He walked over to the quiet woman sitting in the corner, Jason's second wife, who was also Henry's aunt. This time Henry's mom had invited him too, saying he studied law. If I had done something to wrong Henry and they needed to talk divorce, the family wanted someone who understood the legal side. When he saw the cousin approach, Henry's aunt stood up politely. I couldn't get through to him either. "He might be in a meeting, but since you're here, could you run over to the company and bring the technician from the tech department? He might be able to open this door." After hearing that, I stood up and bowed slightly to his. "Thank you." "None." Henry's aunt walked over. "Listen, I don't want to meddle in your affairs, but remember this: no matter how capable a man is, he should never do anything to hurt a woman. Look at your uncle, but whenever he has a free moment, he comes straight home to be with me. So many young girls throw themselves at him, yet he never wavers. A real man has to be able to resist temptation." I listened to his words and nodded with a smile. Just then, Henry's younger cousin burst in, panting heavily. "I know why my sister wanted to end it. My brother minus law has someone on the side." I quickly stepped forward. "You can't just say things like that. Henry's cousin didn't give me any chance to explain." He pulled out his phone and started passing it around to everyone. "Look. These are photos sent by the guy who fixed the surveillance cameras a few days ago. See the clothes on the sofa? There are both men's and women's clothes. This women's outfit, I've never seen my sister wear anything like it. So it definitely isn't his. It has to be my brother Minas and test watch eating. I picked up the phone. It really was footage from my house. A while back, I had asked Song Yi to help find someone to repair the security camera. The camera was one Henry had accidentally broken and never got around to fixing it. While Henry wasn't paying attention, I secretly removed the camera and handed it over to Song Yi so he could ask a friend to repair it. I did it precisely so he would see what was on it. Sure enough, he had taken the bait. I held the phone and tried to explain. No. This isn't my mother, Minas, and Schwa slapped me hard across the face. Henry. You still won't admit it? I kept defending myself. Mom, it really wasn't me. Not you? Then are you saying Henry would cheat? I've seen plenty of these kinds of clothes. Look at this black stockings. This skirt. Would he ever wear something like this? Henry, what did you promise his when you married his? How can you treat him like this now? How can you live with yourself after breaking that promise? Don't even mention Henry feeling hopeless if it were anyone. They'd feel the same. You even brought the person home. Isn't that just bullying his? My aunt jumped in. If you're going to cheat, you deserve to be beaten. And you even brought him home. Who could stand to see that? Forget Henry, I'd want to kill myself over something like this. My cousins and also chimed in. Henry, how could you do something like this? When you went to work at your cousin's aunt's company, didn't you learn any of his principles at all? I wasn't backing down. I told you. You cheated first. The evidence is right here. If Henry says he won't stay with you anymore, he can ask you to leave with nothing. That's right. Divorce. You have to get a divorce. Henry, you leave with nothing. I looked at my mother Minas and Ines law. None. The law doesn't actually say that. Does it? My mother then exploded with anger. Who cares about the law? This is moral corruption. I'll put it this way, even if it was Henry who cheated today, I would still make him leave with nothing. I handed the phone to Henry. Really? Mon? Is that what you truly think? My mother may know, Samina Swa said impatiently, but right now it's you who cheated. Why do you keep dragging Henry into it? Henry grew bolder. You can deny it now. But just wait until my friend sends over the other videos. Then we'll see what you have to say. I sat on the sofa while everyone around me speculated about who I had cheated with and how they should punish me. A mother Manus and Highness Law and cousin's aunt had even started inventorying the property in our house. They had completely forgotten that Henry was still inside the room trying to find a way to escape. By now they had probably given up on smashing the windows and were desperately trying to open the door to the walkmaness and closet instead. They needed to find something to cover themselves with. Otherwise, when we broke in, they would be completely naked. But I had already locked the walkman and closet as well. In the bedroom right now, aside from a single blanket, there was nothing left that could be used to cover their bodies. Look. Something's happening. The moment Henry called out, everyone rushed toward the sound. Before he even reached it, my aunt shot me a vicious glare, as if warning me, just you wait. I picked up the teacup on the table and took a slow sip. Before I could even set it down, my mother Minus Law suddenly slapped Henry's phone out of his hand. What the hell is this? It must be fake, right? How could this possibly be Henry? Henry, did Henry buy you off or something? This is definitely fake. Henry looked unconvinced. How could it be? This is the repaired surveillance video my friend sent me. It's definitely real. That's not right. Look carefully. The person inside is your sister. Henry snatched the phone back. Yes, it really is my sister. That means HES the one who cheated. Look at the clothes HES wearing. They're exactly the set that was on the sofa earlier. It was true. Henry hardly ever wore such flashy clothes. A tight red hip, Minus hugging skirt paired with black stockings. No wonder my mother Minus and Shlory acted so strongly. Even I rarely saw his dressed like that. But that face was unmistakable. After Henry confirmed it several times, My mother, Nina's Law, finally admitted it was Henry, yet he still insisted there was something wrong with the video. Henry handed the phone to the one person in the room he thought might be reasonable, his cousin's aunt, whom he had only met a few times. Cousin's aunt, you've seen a lot. Does this video look fake to you? Or is someone trying to frame my sister? His cousin's aunt took the phone. At first his expression was indifferent, but the moment he saw the content clearly, his face changed instantly, because the man passionately embracing and kissing Henry in the video was none other than his own husband, Jason. Henry and his cousin's aunt had never met Jason before, so it was normal they didn't recognize him. My mother, Law, and aunt were probably too old and too focused on covering for Henry to notice who the male lead in the video actually was. Seeing his cousin's aunt's strange expression, Henry said loudly, "Look." Even cousin's aunt is stunned. He never expected my sister to be this kind of person. I didn't lie to you. This video isn't fake. My mother, Law, quickly covered Henry's mouth with one hand while snatching the phone back with the other. Only then did he look carefully at the man in the video. Once he saw clearly, he suddenly looked up at his cousin's aunt. His cousin's aunt stood there speechless, clearly still in shock. My mother, Law, slammed the phone down hard on the sofa. "Jade, I told you long ago that your husband is no good. Didn't I warn you to keep an eye on him? How could you let him get away with this? He's old enough to be my daughter's father, yet he still comes here to ruin my girl." His cousin's aunt didn't back down. "What nonsense are you talking? This is happening in your own daughter's house. If he hadn't seduced him, how would my old Jason have had the chance? Look at how he's dressed like some kind of whore. Say that again and I'll tear your mouth apart. Right. Look at the way he's acting. Does he look like a proper girl from a decent family? He hides it so well that even I didn't notice. And have you seen how old Jason is? He could be Henry's father. Doesn't he have any morals at all?" With that, he lunged forward and grabbed his cousin's aunt by the hair. The two women started wrestling on the floor, and no one could pull them apart. I watched the two of them rolling on the ground and shouted loudly, "Enough." They seemed to suddenly realize something. The biggest victim here was me. My mother, Law, quickly got up and stood beside me. "Henry, you two were fighting because of this, right? Don't worry. When he comes out, it'll definitely teach him a good lesson. Our family won't let this happen for no reason." Henry's mother, Law, kept insisting there had to be some hidden reason. He would ask his daughter as soon as he came out. Maybe he had been threatened. He would definitely give him a proper explanation. Auntie refused to back down. "What do you mean? Forced? Who's forcing whom is still up for debate." Auntie was famous for his high standards. He had only managed to catch Jason, a man on his second marriage, when he was nearly 50. Naturally, he refused to admit he might have misjudged him, so he kept offending him, mostly to protect his own dignity. I tugged at my suit jacket, feeling the weight of the moment. "None. I don't know why Henry would do something like this. Have I treated him badly? Whatever he wanted, I gave him. So why would he do this to me?" My mother, kept bowing and scraping, clasping his hands together in apology. "Little Zena, you're a good boy. Men need to be understanding. He made a mistake. As long as he knows to change, it'll be fine." I looked straight at his. "Mom. No, cheating is a matter of principle. You always said that whoever in your family cheats has to leave with nothing. Was that what you told me? That was just something I said in passing. You two have been married for 3 years. You really want to throw that away?" He paused, then added firmly, "I guarantee this was the only time. If there's a second time, I'll make her kneel and kowtow to you, and shall still leave with nothing. Mom, I don't even know if they're still in contact. I've been so busy with work these past few years. Maybe I haven't spent enough time with her, but she could have told me. She didn't have to do this. I know she's wrong, but I'm sure they're not in touch anymore. If you don't believe me, ask your aunt. She's been with your uncle these past few days." I turned to Auntie. She kept her head lowered and said nothing. The eldest uncle Manus and Manus Law stepped forward. Come on, man. You have to be generous. Show some real character. Trust your mom this once. It was definitely just that one time. She was tricked by that older man. Forgive her. Let her come out. It's not that we won't let her out, she refuses to come out herself. Just shout through the door that you forgive her, and she'll come out. I looked at my mother Minus and Manus Law, her face now full of eager hope, so different from her earlier aggressive attitude. I wondered what she would feel when she saw the two of them completely naked. I walked to the door and called loudly into the bedroom, Henry, if it really was only that one time, I forgive you. Come out. My mother, son Manus Law and eldest aunt kept praising me. That's right. Young people always make mistakes. You two still have a long life ahead of you. There was no movement from inside the room. Auntie seemed to realize something. He pushed my mother Minus and Manus Law aside, grabbed a stool, and smashed it against the door several times. The door didn't budge. Just as Auntie was smashing away with full force, Jason walked in with the locksmith. Mr. Liu? Mr. Liu was highly skilled. He could even open reinforced password doors from laboratories. Our bedroom door was nothing to him. As he prepared to pick the lock, Mr. Liu hesitated and looked at me. I asked in confusion, It's fine, Mr. Liu. If the door gets damaged, we won't make you pay for it. Mr. Liu shook his head. It's not that. Our line of work has many taboos. After all, this is a private home. For my own safety, I need to leave evidence when I open the lock. Everyone here can testify for me. That's right. We're all witnesses, the eldest aunt and third uncle told him. Even so, people's stories can change. Mr. Lee replied, I've been burned before. I helped someone open a lock, and afterward they denied it, claiming I had broken into their home. I ended up paying several thousand in compensation. So this time, I'm a little uneasy. I looked at him. How about this? I'll record a video for you and send you a copy. You can keep it as proof. Mr. Lee nodded. I quickly took out my phone. Caution is only right. People can be unpredictable. Go ahead and open the lock, I'll record it for you. While Mr. Lee worked on the lock, I imagined Henry inside, anxious and frantic. The room was completely empty, with nowhere to hide. They had probably crawled back under the covers by now, the only thing that could cover their bodies. The door clicked open. Sturliu entered first but froze in place as if rooted to the spot. My mother Stinser pushed past him and rushed in. Henry, don't be afraid. Mom is here. Before he could finish, he started shoving the people behind his. Get out. Everyone get out. But no one listened. They all surged straight into the room. Henry, Sis, Auntie, the eldest aunt, the third uncle, and my cousin all rushed in. Every single one of them stopped dead, then quickly turned their heads away. When I stepped inside, I saw Auntie already slapping and clawing at Jason. He stood in the corner, wrapped in the bedsheet. Henry huddled in the corner by the bed, using a pillow to cover his body. During the struggle, the sheet was yanked off Jason. He tried to grab it but failed. He stood there completely naked, instinctively covering his private parts with his hands. Auntie slapped him hard across the face. How many pills did you take? Normally I have to beg you to take even one, but now you don't mind the effort at all. You have no shame. Then he turned to Henry in the corner. And do you still have any face left? He could be your father. You brought him into our home, and you even need him to take medicine to get it up with you? How can you be so cheap? Mr. Liu saw the situation and knew it was bad. He turned and hurried out. Noticing that my phone was still recording, he said awkwardly, Little song. About that video. I don't need it anymore. Please delete it. Henry stormed out, slamming the door behind him with a cold snort. He saved the video, then forwarded it to both the company group chat and the family group chat before immediately leaving both groups. Pretending to be furious, He left the scene and sat on the sofa with his head in his hands. When Henry's mother dragged him over, Henry was trembling, wrapped in an ill-fitting piece of clothing that clearly belonged to someone else. He stopped in front of Henry, his voice shaking. "Husband, you have to believe me. It was just a fling with his. I still love you. It's just that our window wouldn't open somehow, or I never would have let you see his. I never wanted to hurt you like this." Henry shoved him away. "A fling? If I hadn't come back, how many more days were you planning to stay in bed with his?" Henry started crying softly. "No. When you came back, I would still cook your favorite meals. You're more important to me than he is. He could never compare to you." Henry let out a cold laugh and stood up. "Henry, what exactly do you see in him? You can't even sleep with his without popping pills to keep it going. Is it because HE's the same age as your dad? Or because HE's covered in flab?" The moment Henry mentioned his father, Henry jumped up. "Henry, you were not allowed to talk about him like that." When Henry was 10, his father had been kicked out of the house by his mother. From that day on, he had never contacted him again. Before he got together with Henry, every partner Henry had dated was much older than him. Henry used to think he simply liked mature men. He looked at Henry, then turned his gaze to his mother, who stood frozen in place, saying nothing. "Mom, you said it yourself earlier, anyone who cheats should leave the marriage with nothing. I forgave him once. If your daughter cheats again, I will never forgive his." His mother Minna and minus Inez flourished over. "Little Henry, you can't blame Henry for this. Mom, I'm only asking you one thing, does what you said still count?" His mother minus and minus law naturally avoided answering. "Little Henry, how about this? Mom will give you some money so you can go on a trip. It'll be the perfect chance to repair your relationship." Henry looked up. "No need. Right now, I only want a divorce." Henry threw himself onto him. "Husband, I know you're angry. I won't do it again. I won't see him anymore. Please forgive me. Then get ready and move out." The company internal chat and the family circles exploded with gossip. Jason hadn't even stepped through the company doors yet, but the news about him had already spread like wildfire. The company's performance had already been poor, and with malicious competition from rival firms, they had lost many partners. In a society that loved gossip, Jason's story spread rapidly. To protect their own reputations, operating merchants chose to return goods. The company fell into an unprecedented financial crisis. Jason's aunt used his legal knowledge to cleverly transfer most of the marital assets. Despite Jason's desperate pleas, he still couldn't win back his aunt's heart. To fill the company's financial hole, Jason had no choice but to sell the only property in his name to save the business. But all of it was just a drop in the bucket. Henry joined a new company. Thanks to the wave of online sympathy it received, the company briefly became an internet sensation. Many netizens came to discuss cooperation just to catch a glimpse of the boss who had been cuckolded. Henry suggested the company capitalize on the buzz by starting Livia's streaming sales. The business took off like wildfire, and he became a somewhat well-known live stream host. He also gained a group of positive, supportive fans who left encouraging messages. "Henry, keep going. Getting cheated on once doesn't mean you'll be cheated on forever. You've got this. The next one will be better. This is the right path. Stay away from toxic women and focus on making money." At a recent acquisition meeting, Henry's boss bought Jason's company at a Rockmina's bottom price. It was said that Jason had already declared bankruptcy and was buried in debt. One evening while Henry was working overtime, Henry showed up at the company. Because of the scandal, he hadn't come to work for over half a year. In the professional world, no one wanted to hire an employee with such a moral stain. He was holding a lunchbox and walked straight up to Henry. "Darling, I made your favorite braised pork. Have a taste. If you like it, they'll cook it for you every day from now on." Henry gently pushed the lunchbox aside. "Sorry, you're in my way. By the way, we're already divorced, but I know you still have feelings for me. That's not necessarily true. Why not? You haven't found a new girlfriend yet, have you? Henry gave a cold laugh and turned to walk away. Henry stood there, then smashed the lungbox on the ground. Henry, I only slept with him twice. Is that really worth all this? Didn't I still cook for you? Henry glanced back at him. You don't know this, but because of you, I can't even eat braised pork anymore. So please, don't appear in front of me again. Henry stamped his foot. I don't believe you've already forgotten me. But as soon as Henry turned away, he went looking for Jason. Jason coaxed him, claiming he still had $5 million in assets, and even used borrowed money to take him out for food, drinks, and fun. Less than a month later, Henry was pregnant with Jason's child. When the police came to take Jason away, Henry was lying in the hospital delivery room. He refused to sign the divorce papers no matter what, which left Henry saddled with a mountain of debt. When Henry heard the news, he was devastated. The baby was born crying, and because of the overwhelming grief, Henry's body suffered severe complications. His uterus had to be removed. Henry's mother felt sorry for his daughter and took both him and the baby back to his own home. When registering the child's household registration, they unexpectedly discovered Jason's hidden household register tucked away in a corner. Henry stared at the old name on the household register and felt his blood run cold. Jason. He would never forget that name until the day he died. Jason was the husband of the woman his own husband had cheated with. Back then, Jason had begged him to spare the child growing in his wife's belly. He promised he would take him away and never bother them again. But Henry had arranged for the woman to be beaten until he miscarried. It was Jason's first child, and he had poured all his love into that unborn baby. After Henry divorced his husband, Jason divorced his wife as well. Over the years, Jason had fought his way through the business world, but he could never forget the child he had lost. Then, by chance, he ran into Jade again and saw Henry once more. That was when the idea of revenge took root in his mind. His original plan had been to trick Henry into carrying his child, using it to strike back at him. He never imagined what would unfold inside their home. That scene completely shattered his plan. But traps like his were always meant for people consumed by greed. Jason was already drowning in debt, and the place he lived in was only a rented apartment. When Henry learned the full truth, grief tore through him like a storm. He clutched the baby in his arms, and his mind drifted back 20 years to the child he had forced to be aborted. That baby had been just as beautiful. The more he thought about it, the more terrified he became. It felt as if that lost child had come back to haunt him. In a frenzy, he hurled the infant onto the bed and fled the room. Henry had gone mad. By the third day after he was committed to the psychiatric hospital, I went to visit him. He pointed straight at me and screamed, "Kevin, I knew it. Only a madman sees things clearly." Kevin was the name of the mistress he had arranged to be beaten back than the same woman who had become my foster mother. He passed away when I turned 18. He had pulled me out of the gutter and brought me home, giving me all the love he had. I looked at the raving Henry in front of me. You never thought anyone would still know what you did you? Henry curled into himself, clutching his head and trembling. It washed me. It washed me. You begged your best friend Kevin to seduce your husband just so you could strip him of everything in the divorce. But afterward, you refused to admit what you'd done. To force your husband out, you went through with it for real and had my mother's child beaten out of him. You drove him to divorce Jason. After your husband left the house, he went back and beat him so badly that his face was ruined. He was spat on for the rest of his life. If he hadn't found me when he tried to kill himself, he probably would have died the year he ran away. Henry kept shaking his head, hands pressed to his skull. It washed me. It washed me. It was all because he was too beautiful. Any man would have wanted him. He had to be dirtied so no one would desire him anymore. Your plan was perfect. 1 stone, 3 birds. You got the money, you got your lover, and you got rid of my mother. It washed me. It washed me. My mother told me to live well and watch all of you get what you deserve. I really did want to build a good life with Henry, but he turned out to be just as restless as you. Mother was right, evil people always meet their own end. Don't hit me. Don't hit me. Through the wire mesh. I watched Henry scramble into the corner. I quietly picked up Jason's household register that I had brought from home. As for Henry, he didn't deserve to know any of this. The person he should hate most was himself. Room for 101. Henry. Time for your medication. Sister nurse. Yuri the mistress. Yuri the mistress. They'll kill you. They'll kill you? How did this person go so completely insane? Tomorrow well